Hey everybody, it is Mark Rosewater, and I'm here today with a talk for all of you. So my talk today is called The Making of Mood Swings, or How to Design a Game in 28 Short Years. Once again, I'm Mark Rosewater, head designer for Magic the Gathering, but today I am creator of Mood Swings. So before we begin, I want to set the tone for this talk, because I'm going to talk for the next hour about the making of mood swings, but I wanted to prepare you for essentially what is the story I'm about to tell. So I've captured the whole story in a single picture, which will explain to you what you're about to hear. Okay, you ready? There's the picture. This is about the making of this game that took a long, long time. In fact, it starts back in 1998 when I had an idea for a cool game. It ends in 2026 when that cool game comes out and is published. Because this is a labor of love, all the cards in the set, in the game are emotions, and I'm going to use love as my example all the way through. Love actually was in the very, very first version of the game, and it is in the published game, so you will be seeing a lot of versions of love. I will show you a lot of love along the way. Okay, so in 1998, there's a picture of me, young me, back in 1998. So a quick refresher. 1993, Magic the Gathering comes out. 1994, I start working freelance for Wizards of the Coast, doing the puzzles at the beginning. That's my very first puzzle. And then in 1995, I'm hired full-time by Wizards of the Coast, and I started working on Magic, and I've been doing that ever since. So this story begins in 1998. I've been at Wizards for 3 years when this begins. Okay. So this is Richard Garfield, creator of Magic the Gathering. So I talk a lot about when Richard made Magic. I like to say that he made 3 genius ideas, what I call the golden trifecta. He made the trading card game, he made the mana system, and he made the color pie. Now, I talk about the color pie all the time. If you listen to any of my stuff, you know I love the color pie. I also talk a bit about the mana system, but I talk a little bit less about trading cards. The trading card game is pretty damn awesome, and Richard basically said he took this concept that already existed, which was trading cards, and he combined it with something that games do all the time, which is card games, and he blended them together to make something that is truly amazing. They're a lot of fun, but one of the challenging things about Magic is it's pretty complex. So one day I was thinking about, did it need to be complex? So we'll flash back to a story. So the pit is where R&D works. We've called to the pit ever since I've been there. And one day we were having a conversation in the pit about game complexity. Now, people who know me know that I love my scales, and so I made a game complexity scale. On one end are games that are very complex, that you can't possibly learn playing it once. You have to play it many, many times to understand the game. I'll use Axis and Allies as an example of that kind of game. The other end of the spectrum is a game that you don't need to know that much about, that you play it once and you understand it. Not that there's not more to learn, not that there's not strategy, just that one time through and you got it. I use Jenga as that example. So there's a wide range of complexity. So I was thinking about trading card games, and it dawned on me that Magic's at one end of the spectrum. We now have like 35,000 cards. It is not a simple game. It's an amazing game. It's a fun game. It is not a simple game. So I asked myself, what is at the other end of the spectrum? What is at the light end of the spectrum? What is a more accessible trading card game? Could we make that? And so my idea was, I called it a mass market trading card game. Could we make a trading card game that is as approachable as possible as a trading card game could be? So what I did is I first looked at card games. There are a lot of card games out there, and the idea about a card game is you go to the store and you buy it. And that you see it off the shelf, and then you get to play it right away. That there's no, could I have experience like that? So the idea that I thought about was, what would a trading card game need to be? If I wanted to make it as simple as possible, what did I need to do? Now, Richard Garfield often talks about how the game is bigger than the box. Monopoly, for example, if you buy Monopoly, everybody buys Monopoly gets the same pieces. Everybody who plays Monopoly has the same shared experience. But Magic, that's not true. When you buy Magic, you got cards that your other players don't have. And so I was sort of asked myself, what did you need? So first I decided, no required deck building. I do want you, well, let me walk through the requirements and I'll talk about each of them. So no required deck building, fast gameplay, simpler rules, universal flavor, and opt-in expansion. Okay, so let me walk through each of those and talk about what that means. So no deck building. So in a normal trading card game, in a normal card game, I'll take Milborn as my example. When you open the game, and your friend buys the game, if you each buy the game, it's the same game. It doesn't matter if I play at my house, I play at my friend's house. It's the exact same game. It's the exact same cards. But I imagine, what if my copy of the game had cards that my friends didn't have? What if playing at my house is a slightly different experience than playing at my friend's house? And that's what I realized, how we could add in the trading card to a simple card game. The idea is each player has a complete but unique game that I'm making pieces. Any of the pieces fit together to make the game. You don't need all of the pieces. But the full environment is a larger puzzle, that even though you've your game, there's more to explore. So no required deck building. Fast gameplay. So when Richard Garfield first came to pitch a game to Wizard of the Coast, to Peter Atkinson, who was the original CEO, he actually didn't come pitch Magic. He actually pitched a game called Robo Rally, which is about robots racing on a floor. Anyway, if you've never played, it's a real fun game, but it has a lot of pieces to it. And what Peter said is, we're a small company. At the time, they were a small company. We can't make that game. So Richard said to him, well, I'm a game designer. What kind of game would you like me to design? I'll design whatever game you would like. And Peter said to him, a game you can play in between Dungeons and Dragons games. And that was the inspiration that led Richard to go make Magic. So I'm kind of following in his footsteps. My goal for this game was a game you can play in between Magic games. So the idea for me was, for a two-person game, I wanted to get to 5 minutes for two people. Now, when you first start playing, it might be a little bit longer, but a two-person game is like 5 to 10 minutes. You can play with up to 4 people, so that can take a little bit longer. I wanted simpler rules. I thought that was really important. That Magic has the comprehensive rules, which currently is 292 pages, which is about the thickness of a phone book. I realized I might have stopped using this metaphor, because I know, like, my kids are like, what's a phone book? So anyway, there was a set called Legends in the first year of Magic that had some extra rules in it, and they made a rules card, and it was the back and forth of a single card. And that was my goal. I wanted to make a game that the basic rules fit on the back and front of a single card. And if you buy Mood Swings, there is a rule card that comes in it. This rule card you're seeing right now, that is the rules. I'm not saying there's not, there's larger rules about how certain cards interact, but the basic rules, that is it. It fits on two sides of a card. Next, universal flavor. So Magic has a fantasy flavor, and a lot of people love fantasy, but fantasy is not for everyone. Also, there's a little bit of violence in Magic. We literally have a card called Murder. I wanted to make something that was a little more universal and something that everybody could understand. So this is my mom. Her name's Lynn. She is a psychologist. And I grew up fascinated by psychology, especially emotions. In fact, in college, I did a play called Lego My Ego, in which all the main characters were emotions. This is before Herman's Head, before Inside Out. I made a play all about emotions that were characters. And I just realized that there's something really, anybody who's followed my stuff, I love emotions. It's something I've always been excited by. It just felt like the perfect idea for a game. And my thought is, a lot of people can relate maybe to an elf, a battle elf, but everybody can relate to having feelings. Everybody understands happiness and sadness and anger and fear. Like, those are basic experiences that everybody goes through. Okay, opt-in expansion. So normally when you buy a game, as I said, Richard said earlier, the game is bigger than the box. Most games, you buy the game and you can explore the game. I use Cosmic Encounter as Cosmic Encounter was the influence for Magic. Cosmic Encounter, like, you buy the game, the things that are in the game, you play it, you explore it, and when you want more, once you've explored everything that's in the box, okay, they make expansions, you can go do that. Magic is a little different. I mean, obviously we have expansions, but the idea of exploring the game, that the game is bigger than what you buy. That part of playing the game isn't just playing what you own, it's seeing what other people own. There's this whole larger experience, and I really wanted that. I thought that was important of trading card games, so that's something I built in to Mood Swings. So originally we had 330 cards when I first designed it. I matched a Magic set at the time. Back in the day, in 1998, Magic sets were 330 cards. I eventually cut it down. So if you buy the game, there's 133 cards total, but you will get 45 out of the 133. It is randomized. But you get some portion of that. And the idea is you get some of it, but you get to explore the things you don't have. That when you go to your friend's house, their game is not exactly the same as your game, and that's really interesting to me and very exciting. I like to say this is my love letter. Mood Swings is my love letter to trading card games, and I really wanted to explore the things I thought were cool about trading card games, removing some of the things that I don't think were essential to trading card games. The way I explain this, by the way, it's a lot like a cube, a magic cube, in that the person who owns it can customize it. If you want to expand your thing, you can. If you want to trade for cards, if you want to buy more cards, you, the person who owns it, can adapt it. You're allowed to expand it. You're allowed to change it. It works if you change it. The game works with any, you want to have 45 cards, but whatever 45 cards you have, it can work with. But the people who play it, they just play what's there. They don't have to do any building or anything. And so that's my comparison. Okay, so we go back to 1998. I started working on mood swings. These are actual notes of me working and coming up with cards. And then my very first version of it, I hand wrote it on blanks. And this is the very first version of Love. The first time I ever played the card, when my wife and I played for the very first time, that was the very first version of Love. And in this version, it got 4 points for every set of red, blue, or green cards you had. So the more of them you had, it could get bigger. So the early game, I had 3 colors, red, green, and blue. And the way the card worked is every card had a name. It was a mood or emotion or a state of mind. Every card has a score. So I decided to use dice. I'd read a really interesting article talking about why dice have pips on them and not numbers most of the time. And it has to do with how your brain works. That one half of your brain is about language, the other is more about spatial things, and that when you look at a die and see the sort of the pattern recognition, you don't have to go through the language part of your brain. And numbers have to go through the language part. So anyway, I was very excited about using dice. You have to add a lot of scores, and I want to make adding up as easy as possible. Okay, you also have an effect. Cards do something. Now, not every card does something. Some cards are actually blank, vanilla, to use Magic terminology. When I made this game in the very, very early version, I made 3. Obviously, the score has to be between 1 and 6 because it's a die. I eventually realized I needed 0, so I did add 0 in. But it goes between 0 and 6. I had 3 as my vanilla originally. I later realized the printed game, it's 4. I had to change it. There was more things I needed below than above because there were more cards that had effects and had to be costed for it. Okay, so I'm going to explain the game loop for the game, and this is the exact game loop that I started with 28 years ago. The basic game loop has not changed. I've changed a lot of things around it, and we'll talk about a little bit of that today, but here's the core game loop. So round 1, you play a card. Your turn, you start, you play a card. I will note these cards are the original playtest cards. There's no Psychosis in the final game, but I'm just using cards that I actually had. So the card is called Psychosis. It has a score of 5, so I play it. Now my score is 5. Then and the card says this card is worth 1 less for each red card in play. Okay, so now it's my opponent's turn. And they play a card called Apathy. That is worth 3. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything. So their score is 3. Okay, and notice because they are a red card, and Psychosis says it's worth 1 less for a red card, my score drops to 4. Okay, so now it's time for scoring. I have a score of 4. They have a score of 3. I have a higher score than them. I win the turn. I win the round. So the idea is win 3 rounds, you win the game. It's a very fast game. That's all you need to do. Since I've won the round, I go first. The advantage of going first is you win ties. Okay, so round 2, I'm going to play a card called Complacency, which is another villa worth 3. So my score goes to 7. So then my opponent plays it's my opponent's turn. And he plays Hate. Hate is worth 0 because it's a powerful card. It says destroy a card in play. So they're going to destroy my Complacency, so that will go away. And then we adjust the scores. Now note, this card's worth 1 less. Psychosis is 1 less for every red card. There's 2 red cards. So I actually dropped down to 3. So it's time for scoring. It's 3-3. But remember, I went first, so I win the tie. So I win the second turn. And the idea is you just keep going until somebody wins 3. Whoever wins 3 rounds first wins the game. That is it. That is the core. Like I said, I've changed a few things, but that basic game loop has not changed since the very beginning. Okay, so let's start our story here. In August of 1998, there's an event called Ropacon. Ropacon is the largest game convention in Finland. I was the guest of honor. So I brought my game along, and so I mocked it. It's the very first time I mocked it up, and I played with anybody, I believe, outside my wife. And so I made decks, and I played with people. If anyone was at Ropacon, maybe you remember playing with me back in 1998. And so when I got back, I learned some lessons. Like I realized love was a little more complex than I needed, so I changed it. Now love is 0, that's 6 if you have all 3 colors in play. I just made it. Love's actually the first card with a dual state for scoring, which would become important. And then what I did is I put it into our database, the same database we make Magic with. And I'm like, okay, if having it in a database lets me work with it. And I made a whole file. I made a whole file back in 1998. So then, along the way, I talked to a lot of different people. I'm going to call them the powers that be. It's not the same person. I'm talking to different people over the years. I don't always remember who they were. I don't have pictures of everybody. So I'm just going to use this picture, which is ceremonious rejection, to represent the powers that be, because they are going to reject me a few times along the story. I showed you the football at the beginning. Okay, so I say, I have a great new idea for a game. And they say, wonderful, tell me about it. Well, it's a mass market trading card game. Well, I have to stop you there. We only deal with local game stores. We don't have mass market accounts. And I'm like, well, you can sell this in a game store. What trading card game sold in a local game store, won't that compete with Magic? But what's different than Magic? It's simpler, it has a faster play time, there's no required deck building. Well, I thought you said it was a trading card game. Well, it's a different kind of trading card game. So it's like Magic, but not at all like Magic? Well, essentially, Magic players can enjoy it, but it has a bigger potential audience because it's easier to learn and play. People could play it that don't play Magic. A mass market audience. Yes. Yeah, we don't have mass market accounts. And we didn't do mass market at the time, so they said no. So let's cut to October. In October of that year, I married my playtest partner. She was such a good playtest partner, I decided to marry her. This is Laura. So Laura and I got married. So we now cut to 1999. In May of 1999, Wizards of the Coast buys The Gamekeeper. So this happens to be when I was a writer back in Hollywood. I was getting a little stir-crazy being at home all the time because writing's a solitary profession. And so I took a part-time job, and I took it at a game store because I love games, just so I could get out and meet people. And it was at that game store that someone walked in the first time and asked about Magic. And I learned about Magic because people kept coming in and asking about it. And eventually I tracked it down, and then I got my store to order it. But anyway, Wizards of the Coast buys The Gamekeeper. So the powers that be say to us, we're interested in R&D making games for Gamekeeper stores. Do you have any games for a more mass audience? A mass audience, you say? I have a mass market trading card game. A trading card game? Yes, but you get a full playable game out of the box. It's like a mass market card game, but with an extra trading card component. Well, we're using a local printer. A trading card game would be too complex. So they said no. Brian Tinsman, by the way, a former Magic designer, for Gamekeeper, designed a game called Curses that is still on sale today. Okay, so now we cut to September of 1999. Wizards of the Coast gets bought by Hasbro. So the powers that be come and they say, Wizard is going to focus on more advanced games, what we call lifestyle games. Games like Magic and Dungeons & Dragons. They're full hobbies. But Hasbro has their own R&D, focused on more casual games. So if you have a more casual game, you can send it to Hasbro R&D. More casual game? I have a mass market trading card game. The core game is pretty simple, but it allows less than franchise players to enjoy a trading card game. A trading card game? No, that's considered a lifestyle game. We do that at Wizard. So we can make it? Well, I think we're looking for games with a little more depth. So it's too complex for Hasbro, but too simple for Wizards. Yes. And so they passed again. So now we go to 2000. So in 2000, my wife Laura and I have our first child, baby Rosewater, who we decide to name Rachel. But we have a little more trouble deciding on the middle name. Laura really wanted Diana, where I really wanted Emily. And we both liked the other one's name, but we each preferred our own name. And the question was, how could we decide what to name our child? And the answer was Mood Swings. Because as I said before, Laura was my playtest partner. I played with Laura a lot. We played a lot of games of Mood Swings. And so what we decided was, look, Diana and Emily both have 5 letters. We could make a game out of this. And so what we did is we played at lunch every day. We played Mood Swings anyway at lunch. We played best 3 out of 5, which is what we normally did. And then the winner got a letter. Get all 5 letters and spell the name, and you get, that's Rachel's middle name. Now, a lot of people, when I tell the story, are mad at me. They're like, why in the world would Laura agree to this? You're a game designer. I'm like, no. Laura and I played all the time. And Mood Swings, there's a little more variance in Mood Swings. Like, Laura won plenty. In fact, at one point, it was D-I-A-N to E-M. I was 1 letter away from it being Diana. But I'm happy to say, in April of 2000, Rachel Emily Rosewater was born. So I pulled it out. Okay, so now we advance to 2001. So I've been working on the file. I keep working with it. I keep making different versions. You can see on the left, that's version 1. On the right, that's version 7. I went through a bunch of different iterations of it. And you can see little tiny changes. Instead of love being 0, that's worth 6 if you have a red, blue, and green card in play. Now it's 6, that's worth 0 if you don't have a red, blue, and green card in play. Okay, other cards changed more than love did. So anyway, I go back to the powers that be, and I say, hey, just checking in. Still working on mood swings. Okay. It's gone through a lot of changes. Would you like to see it again? Well, I think we need to talk. We have a concern about mood swings. We're worried about its business model. Why? Well, it's a trading card game without deck building. Yeah, it's a mass market trading card game. The idea is it's playable out of the box. Building a deck is a high barrier to entry. So it's a trading card game where you don't have to buy more cards. Well, you can buy more cards, but it's an opt-in decision. You don't have to. But that's a completely different model for a trading card game. Well, yeah, I'm trying something new. The core idea is that because it's simpler, more people can play, which means we can expand the trading card game market. Hypothetically. We don't know for sure it'll work. Well, there's no guarantee, but Magic was untested too. Look, it's just too big of a risk, at least for right now. We have to pass on mood swings. Sorry. Okay, we cut to 2002, and I've been thinking about what they were saying, and I said, okay, is there a way to demonstrate to the powers that be that there is things we can do where people would buy more cards? And I thought a lot about limited. So I decided, what if, so I for the first time ever, I built a frame. The idea is that I actually used pop culture images. This is from Meet Joe Black. I used the die for the first time. Remember, the initial game had the die on it, but when I had it in the database, I had to put numbers. So I actually got a die on it, and I got an actual frame for the first time. And the idea is I made a whole set. It was very fun. I found pop culture images. And then I made actual 15-card booster packs. I made booster packs. So the idea was that each person got a booster pack. Every person who signed up to be in the league would get a 15-card booster pack. And we based it on Arena League, which is not the arena you might know. But way back in the day in the stores, we had a thing called Arena League, and we used to run different drafts and things in stores. And so the idea was you would each open up your booster pack, and then you would shuffle it, and you would play some mood swings. And you would play best 3 out of 5. And then when you were done, you would shuffle it again, and then divide it back, and each person would leave with a different mix of cards than they started with. Now, by the way, if that sounds fun, Mood Swings comes with 45 cards, which means there are 3 15-card packs in it, if you will. So if you want to try this, you can. You just need, for every 3 people you have in your league, you would need to buy a deck. Okay, so we did top 8 with this. We had prizes. So in the end, more of R&D got to play the game. The gameplay was well received, and it did nothing to move the needle. Okay, so now we move ahead to 2003. So in December of 2003, so while I spent a lot of time making mood swings, I had a side gig. I actually made Magic. And in December of 2003, I become the head designer for Magic. So I was, besides making mood swings, I was busy. I was making a lot of Magic. Okay, so now we come to 2004. In January, my twins are born, Adam and Sarah. So, by the way, Morrow, for example, is a card named after me. We would call it a vanity card. We stopped doing vanity cards. But around the time they came out, Sora Morrow and Adam Morrow came out, and everybody assumed that I named them after my twins, which I did not. I had nothing to do with these cards. But anyway, so I just, for the record, I did not name these cards. Okay, so in 2005, the powers that be come and say, we'd like to make some new games. Has anybody been working on something? And I say, I have something new. New-ish. It's something we've never made. A mass market trading card game. And they're like, mood swings? I'm like, yes, but I've been working on it. Over 15 different iterations. And like I talked about playing limited, I talked about all the different things I've done with it. And they said, okay, I see you're pretty serious. Let's do some focus testing. Okay, I've advanced beyond just no. Okay, so for the first time ever, we got graphic design. We made a logo for it. We made a card back. And for the card front, we had 2 options. So one of the options was we did pop culture like I'd done for the drafting for the limited league. And then option 2, and we made a whole bunch of cards. So all the cards had pop culture images on them. And then option 2 was we did pictures of actual people. And the way we did that is we brought a photographer in, and we had people, employees of Wizards and their family, take pictures. And we made cards of this. For example, Love, that is my wife Laura and my youngest daughter Sarah. Happiness, that is Elaine Chase, who's brand manager of Magic for many years. Disgust is Brandon Bozzi. He worked on the creative team. Desire is Alex Tinsman. She worked on marketing, is married to Brian Tinsman. And then anxiety was me. I'm not quite sure why I put myself on anxiety, but I think I was anxious about this game. So anyway, we then went to focus testing. For those who don't know what focus testing is, you get a bunch of people, you sit behind like a 2-way glass, and you just watch people play your game. And then at the end of it, somebody comes in and officially asks them questions, and you can learn about what they thought about it. Option 1 was by far the favorite option. Apparently, having images you recognize are better than people that you don't know. So I went and I talked to the powers that be. So they said, we did the focus testing. How'd it go? They go, it went well. People liked the game. So we can make it? No. The focus let us analyze the target market, and it's a different group of players than we normally target. I'm like, that's the whole point of a mass market trading card game, to bring trading card games to a new audience. Well, in concept, that's great. Really, it is. But it's not an audience we understand or have great tools to reach. That doesn't mean we never will, but currently, from a business sense, it's a poor risk to take. Sorry. Okay, so 2007, I'm still working on it. I go back to the basic database. And basically what I do is I start working with other parts of the company. I work with editing and I improve the templating. I work with the developers and work on power balance. And I just work with general R&D and just get more reps in, start playtesting with more other game designers just to improve the gameplay. And once again, I make a full set and we do a lot of playing. And then I play with this for a couple years. So in 2011, I go back to the powers that be. I'm like, it's been 6 years. I've done a lot of work on mood swings, templating, rules, gameplay. I think it's in a really good place. I would like to talk about finding a way to do it. And the powers that be said, I've been hearing good things about it. Everyone tells me it's a great game. So we can make it? No. Why not? Because we're concentrating on our core competencies. We're not making new games right now. We're expanding on the games that are currently the core of our business. But if you have a new way to expand upon Magic, we'd be very interested to hear it. And so that was the point where we stopped making so many new games. But I didn't give up. I kept working on it. I kept making advancements. So this is actually the biggest change that I made, I believe, in the whole life. Little things changed. For example, love went from 8 to 10. Went from rare to mythic rare. But probably the biggest change is this. The game went from being red, blue, and green cards to being white, blue, black, red, and green cards. Yes, I went from 3 colors to 5 colors. And the idea I finally realized is this has always been, to me, a way to get people into trading card games. But if I can mold it and model it as a way to get not just in trading card games, but into Magic, it was an easier sell internally. So I switched it to 5 colors. I switched from 3 rares to 4 rarities. I probably should have done that anyway. When I started back in 1998, we only had Magic had 3 rarities. By this point, we had 4 rarities. But this is the point when I changed that. I applied the color pie. If you did something that Magic did, I put it in that color. If I bounce a card, it's in blue. If I make you discard a card, it's in black. I matched up. Now, not everything is 1 for 1. There's some effects in mood swings that don't really have a corollary Magic. So I had to choose a little bit for color pie for mood swings. But mostly, where I could, I applied it. And also, in the early version of the game, you just drew 7 cards. The reason you drew 7 cards, by the way, was I wanted to limit you to 14 cards because I wanted it to be playable out of a booster. We are not selling a booster with this current incarnation of it, but it is still playable out of a booster. Like I said, if you want to turn your 45 cards into 3 15-card boosters, you can do that. It's still playable out of the booster. But anyway, I originally had you draw 7 because I wanted to limit. One of the other game designers talked to me and said, look, the problem with not having card drawing is 2 things. 1, your opening hand's too big. It's a lot of decisions. And there's no hope. Like if you open your hand and don't see anything, there's no hope that something will happen. And they said you really need to have some way to have some hope. So the way I had card drawing in is I only gave you 5 cards at the beginning, and then when you lost, you got a card. Since you can only lose twice, losing the 3rd time you lose the game, I kept you to still having 7 cards. Okay, so I made the new version. This is the 5-color version. And so I made that. I played it for a couple years. It's also during this time that I made the realization of the importance of having dual state things. So for the first time, I realized I can put the second die on the card. And so that when that becomes the dominant score, you can rotate it. So that's where this technology came. Okay, so in 2014, this is Ethan Fleischer. He won the 2nd Great Designer Search. Ethan has some graphic design skills. And so he helped me make a frame. And so you'll notice it looks a lot like a Magic frame. It has Magic influences. It uses Magic art and even uses Magic font. I was trying to make it very Magic adjacent. For the first time ever, it got an expansion symbol. And once again, we were using the dies and showing the dies at both ends. So we picked art. We did a lot of things to really show up. And the idea was, if you play this, it's an advertisement. It's learning what Magic can be. Maybe you'll never go to Magic. You don't need to go to Magic. But if you ever go to Magic, this will help you, help ease the way. Okay, so in 2016, this is Graham Hopkins. So he actually was also in a Great Designer Search. He came in 3rd in the 1st Great Designer Search. So Graham actually ended up working for Arena. He's a programmer. So Graham's been on a lot of different design teams with me. He's a good Magic designer. Graham helped me turn love into this. What is that, you say? He helped me program it. He really liked the game, and he was a programmer. So he said, hey, I'm going to turn it into a digital game. And so he and I worked on it. He did all the programming, but I helped get all the assets and picked art for everything. So anyway, he started to work on that. Okay. In December of 2016, a man named Mark Hagan, joins R&D. And the reason this is important is at the holiday party that he joined in December, he came to the holiday party. At the holiday party, I played Mood Swings with him, with the latest version I had. Why did I play Mood Swings with him? Because this was my strategy. A lot of times people, when they make a game, they don't want to show to people because they're worried that other people might take it or something. I have the exact opposite philosophy. I don't know who can help me. Everybody on the screen, I played with them. And way more than the screen. I played with lots and lots of people. Anybody who could possibly play with me, I would play Mood Swings with them. Because I didn't know who could help me advance and get Mood Swings made. And in the end, somebody did. It was this person. It was Mark Hagan. But remember, this is December 2016. So it's an important part of the story. We'll come back to that. Okay, so in 2017, R&D decides to have a job fair, but a Magic-themed job fair. And so the idea is if you have any cool ideas for Magic, come pitch them. So I led a team called Stepping Stone Games. And the idea was this. Magic has a high barrier to entry. It is hard to teach people how to play Magic. But we're really good at making games. We're game makers. What if we made more games that were simpler, but those games could be stepping stones into learning Magic? And the idea is we could broaden the Magic, the Magic IP, and we could have more people be aware of it. And we could secretly teach people how to do things in Magic. So that if you came to Magic, you didn't have to. You could play those games and never come to Magic. But if you came to Magic, Magic's now a little bit easier because we taught you something. So we actually had 3 games that we were pitching. One was called Mana Clash, one was called Rumble, and one was called Mood Swings. So Mana Clash was a Yahtzee-like game. All the dice were mana symbols. You would roll them, and you could re-roll them just like Yahtzee, and then you would cast cards. So the cool thing about it was teaching you spell casting. So you were learning how spell casting worked. Rumble, all these games, Ethan Fleischer and I made these games. I want to give credit to Ethan. So Rumble was like War, except instead of having one number, you had 2 numbers. You had a power and a toughness, and you had some creature abilities. And the idea was it taught creature combat. Now, this game was aimed at a slightly lower audience, younger audience. And then we had Mood Swings. So I said, look, it makes sense. Let's adapt Mood Swings. We adjusted a little bit. I moved the dice to the right side for the first time, or it was there in the beginning, but I moved it back. And then we made a whole set so we could play test for this. And the idea was Mood Swings teaches you what a trading card game is and introduces you to the color pie. Okay, so we pitched these 3, and that was our pitch. It went well. They ended up picking some other things. They didn't pick this particular thing. But a lot of people liked it. But I did go back to the powers that be, and I said, look, Mood Swings isn't just its own game. Now it's a means to introduce players to trading card games, and for some, to Magic. It's part of a larger ecosystem. Very interesting. So maybe we can make it? Let me think about it. Now, you should think I'd be unhappy, but I got into no every other time, and this was the first not no I got. So I was very excited to get not no. It wasn't a yes yet, but it was a not no, so I consider that progress. Okay, so in 2018, Graham finishes his programming of the game, and Graham and I play a lot of games online. He also made a version where you could play an AI, like play a computer. It wasn't very good, but Graham and I played each other. I had a pretty good record against Graham. So I go back to the powers that be. Not only can Mood Swings be an on-ramp for Magic players, it can be a digital game. It's got a quick play time, it has limited play area representation, so it will work on a phone screen, and there's asynchronous turns. It has all the qualities that make it a great candidate for a digital game. And we have a working prototype. Very interesting. So maybe we can make it? Let me think about it. So 2 times in a row, I got not a no. I consider this making progress. So in 2019, Wizards, of course, realized something. They realized that they wanted to do a lot more digital games, and that a lot of our R&D had really cool games. A lot of people in the company had a lot of cool games. That maybe they could have a contest. And the idea was it would just be for employees, and the winner of the contest would have their game published. We would make it. And there was a deadline of September 30th. Okay, so a digital initiative. Great. I just made a digital prototype. I mean, with help from Graham. New games. Well, I had a new game that I've been trying to make. It was a contest. Well, the powers that be weren't making it. Maybe I needed a different way to get there. Just employees. Well, at that point, I'd been employed for 24 years. The winner. Well, I had a game I've been working on for 21 years. It was in really good shape. And I had the game published. I can imagine my eyes finally. Mood swings become a real thing. And the deadline was September 30th. But my other job, making magic, it got really busy and there's a lot going on. And I did not learn about this contest until October 1st. And they said, oh, we're so sorry. Maybe next time. Maybe on the next contest you can do it. Okay. Also in 2019, Mark Hagan makes Secret Lair. A little side note, by the way, we used to have an area when we moved in the old building and we set up tables to play at, and we wanted to label areas. So I labeled it the Secret Lair area, and I put up a giant card of R&D Secret Lair, which is from Unhinged, one of the unsets. And people started referring it to, usually they just called it the Secret Lair rather than R&D Secret Lair. And I believe that's where Mark got the name for Secret Lair from. So Secret Lair, if you didn't know, is indirectly named after an uncard. Okay, so now we get to 2020. Nothing bad happened in 2020. We'll move on. Okay, we get to 2022. So remember Adam and Sarah? They graduate high school. And little Rachel Emily Rosewater graduates college. And in 2023, my longtime Playmanist partner and I celebrate 25 years of being married. So as you can see, some time has passed. So in 2024, I get approached by Mark Hagan. And Mark says, do you have a minute to talk? And I'm saying, sure. He goes, you know how we're always experimenting with Secret Lair? Well, here's an idea we're tossing around. What if we put out a game through Secret Lair? Something a little different. We want a game that pushes into new space. Well, that sounds cool. I know exactly what I want the game to be. Would it be all right if we make mood swings? What? I remember playing at the holiday R&D party when I first got to Wizards 8 years ago. I think it'd be perfect. So you're asking me if I'm willing to let you make mood swings. I was. So we went in 2025, Secret Lair officially greenlit it, and it went into production, or went into design. So we had to take the file as we had it. We had to transfer. It was in one of the old databases, so I had to transfer it over. There were originally 330 cards. I had to narrow it down to. Originally it was 120. Later for collation, 133 proved to be the right number. And originally the plan was to make 40 card decks. That's how we were planning to sell it. So it needed some serious playtesting. I mean, I had done a lot of playtesting, but I wanted to make sure that I had the best possible version. If we're going to put the game out, it wanted to be good. So I put together a Mood Swings design team, which was me. I was the design team. This was a Secret Lair. This wasn't Magic sets have a lot more resources. I had a little less resources. Eventually, I asked for a little bit of help, and I got a Mood Swings play balance team. That was Corey. So Corey helped me. So anyway, I had to change the cards over. Eventually, Love goes from being 10 to 12 because there's 2 dies on Love. And I say, well, why not max it out? Love is the natural highest scoring card. There's some other cards that score higher, but not naturally on the dice. Love had always been sort of my poster child for this game. So I really like Love being the highest scoring card. So we went through a lot of changes. We did a lot of playtesting. Eventually, by the way, I realized the importance of having dice on the playtest cards. And so, remember, I liked how the dice looked in the other version, so I actually had a friend of mine make stickers. So I actually made 3 different color stickers. Originally, there were 3 different color dice. Now, there's just 2 color, white and black. But at the time, if you had 2 scores, then you were red at the time. So eventually, Love did eventually go to 4. So by the way, in the game, vanillas are 4. If you do something, you're less than 4. If you're cost something to do, then you're above 4 usually. So vanillas are 4, and cards that are kind of neutral, that it's not clear if they're good or bad. They sometimes are good, sometimes are bad. There's some other cards that are 4. Love is the only card that I would say is an upside card with 4. The reason I ended up doing this, A, it's a mythic, but 2, it is strategically. It's not great to play Love early because you don't want your opponent knowing that you're trying to do it. Because normally you can't play all the colors. You want some aid from your opponent. And so if you sort of play Love later, a lot of times it can be worth 12, which will swing the turn. And so playing Love early is kind of not great. So I was okay with making it 4. Little strategic thing. Okay, so this is Michael Zhang, or Zhang, I believe. He was my editor. So he looked at the cards and he realized that there were 3 basic things they did. So he made 3 templates. There's to play this mood. Those are cards that require you to do something. You're not allowed to play this card without doing this thing. Sort of additional cost in Magic terms. While in play, these are cards that do something while they're in play. Kind of static effects in Magic. And then after playing this mood, these are things that when you play them, they do something. Some of those can last sometimes, but they're effects that happen when you do them. If they last, we have a way to tell you that that's true. Anyway, love was a while in play effect. So we started adding all the template to the card, and the card started getting the templates. Okay, at this point, we did what we called a town hall is what we called it. The idea was a lot of people in Wizards hadn't played Mood Swings, so we invited anybody who wanted to play Mood Swings to come play Mood Swings. And a lot of people showed up. And so we paired people off in two and they played. But some of the people who showed up were the rules team for Magic. And they asked me, can we play a 4-person game? And I said, yeah, you can play 4 people. So we played it. They really enjoyed it. And they said, we think, this should be a 4-person game. And I'm like, well, I'm more than happy. It made me really think of so the thing is, I had always designed Mood Swings as a 2-player game that, well, you can play with 3 and 4 people. It worked. But this made me realize that I needed it to be a 2 to 4 player game. And so there's a bunch of things I needed to change to do that. First off is there are some cards that just don't work really well in 3 and 4 player in the version I had. So Panic, for example, was a card at the time that cost 1, and you could put any card back into its player's hand. You can, in Magic terms, you can bounce the card. And the idea is in a 2-player game, it's because Panic gets you a score of 1. It's fine if I bounce their expensive card and play my cheap card. Often I get ahead of them, and it's fine. It's a good play for me. But in a 3 and 4-person game, I was knocking down the top person, but I myself wasn't winning. It's what we call king making in R&D, meaning I couldn't win, but I was determining who could win. And it just made it more political in a way that wasn't particularly fun. We tried a couple different things. I had a version where you bounced all opponents' cards, but that ended up harming the person in last place in a way that wasn't fun. So the Panic that actually ended up in the set, what it does now is you pick 2 players. In a 2-player game, that could be your opponent and you. Why would you ever pick yourself? Remember earlier we had hate that's worth 0. It's still in the game. Maybe you want to bounce your hate because you want to play it again. So you don't have to choose yourself. You're allowed to. But in a 2-player game, you'll pick your opponent most of the time. Maybe you pick yourself. But in a 3 and 4-person game, you can pick other people and pick multiple people. So that ended up playing the best. The other thing we came across, this is my playtest, a thing we called hurt feelings. So a 2-player game is very strategic. A 3 and 4-player game has a lot more politics in it. And so we needed more catching up. And so what we did, so hurt feelings, this is what it looks like in the actual game. It's a little token. If you're in last place, if you're in first place, you win the round. If you're not in first place, you draw a card. But if you're in very last place, in 3 or 4-person games, you get the card called Hurt Feelings. And what Hurt Feelings does for you is in the next round, you get to play an additional card. It's a fun catch-up feature. We added it in, and it really made the 3 and 4-player games play better. The other problem we had is, remember I said that the cards are going to be 40 cards? Well, it turns out if you play 4-player and go to 9 turns, which is possible because there are more players and everyone has to win, like 4 people could all go to, it could be 2, 2, 2, and 2 without anyone winning a 3rd turn. You actually need 42 cards. They could take up to 42 cards. See, it turns out with a 2-player, all you need is 14 cards. I wanted playable out of a booster. 3 people is 27 cards. 4 people is 42 cards. So I had to go to my architect, who's Zakil. And I said to Zakil, look, I want to market this as a 2 to 4-player game, but with good conscience, I can't say that if it's only 40 cards. If you run out of cards, I go, we need 42 cards. So what he eventually decided to do is we decided to make it 45 cards. So that's what the product, that if you go buy it now, it's 45 cards. Okay. Next up, we had to do art. So this is Matt Danner and Ari Zarilnik. They were the creative team for the set, if you will. We had decided very early on we wanted to use magic art. And one of the things that was important to Mark Hagan was that the vibe we were going for in this thing was, look, this is a game that you've heard Mark talk about for 3 decades, or almost 3 decades. We wanted to get the sense of behind the scenes, give it a little bit more of a playtest feel to it. And so we decided instead of using normal art, we took actual published art, but we did sketches of the art. Which is hard to do because we had there's a lot of cool cards we wanted to use, but we didn't have a sketch, or the sketch was in color. They all had to be black and white sketches. And so we had to do that. There's a lot of work. And then we had to take sketches, and we did a lot of getting the original source of them so they're cleaned up. And then even they did a lot of polishing to make them look as they look really nice in the finished cards. Okay. And then we started adding, my playtest cards started having art. And so we started playing with art. Eventually, the red dyes went away, went to black dyes. Next comes the card frame. So the cards had to look like something. So this is Colby Nichols. He was my designer. He did all the design for the set. So the actual finished product, the front of the card looks like on the left, that's love, and the back, that's what the back of a mood swings looks like. But Colby tried a lot of different things, so I thought it'd be fun to show you some of the things he tried. The idea of the game was it was whimsical, that we wanted something that really was a bit lighter than Magic. I had picked emotions for a reason, that I wanted a slightly lighter tone. The gameplay was faster, and I wanted a very different feel. And Colby understood that. And from early on, he really played around with a lot of different ways to address that. And I loved it. This is the version where he realized that he wanted to make an ode to Magic. So the M and the G in the logo are, in fact, the M and G for Magic. Not quite as obvious as it is in this version. But we want to pay a little odd to Magic. A lot of the game owes a lot to Magic, a lot to all my learnings of making Magic. Yes, for a while, my face was on the back, but a very, very short while. I believe it got nixed about 3 seconds after Colby made it. Okay, so this is the front, and this is the back that Colby turned into me. I asked for one change. See if you at home can figure out the one change. I said to Colby, I go, there is no way in the world that I'm making a game that uses the color pie and not have it in Wooburg order. I go, no way. And so he changed it. So the actual game, in fact, white is in the center, then goes blue, black, red, green. So it is in Wooburg order. There are each color of the card. There's 5 colors in the game, obviously. He made each frame a little bit differently. The tilting of the art's a little bit different, so it's a little bit of stylistic. He did center the art, and we chose the font specifically, and he centered the art kind of like how Alpha was. Colby chose it to center the numbers, put the dies in the text. So anyway, it turned out I really like how it looks. He also tried a lot of logos along the way. On the left is the actual logo we used, but on the right are other logos that he tried. And this is the finished product. Colby also made the box. And so this is the box that he made. And if you purchase, this is what you will get. By the way, there's this little guy that Colby made he called Dice Friend, which was this little die that had little emotions on it. And early, it was on the back of the card at some point, and it got nixed by various people. But he really, really liked it, so he snuck it on the packaging. So if you look on the back of the packaging, there's a little Dice Friend. All of us, we are very big fans of Dice Friend. Okay. So I was now in playtesting able to make the cards look like we figured out how to get PDFs of the actual cards. And then eventually in 2026, we got real cards. And I actually got to play with real cards. That was super exciting. That's what the final card looks like. Okay, so back in 1998, I was working on a set called Unglued. And we were trying to do weird, wacky art. And at one card, we decided we wanted it to look like a kindergartner drew it. And I said, guess what? I draw much like a kindergartner. I could capture that essence. So I drew the card for Look at Me on DCI. And then over the years, they keep having me draw cards. I do not know why they keep having me draw cards. I can't draw. I like to say I'm the worst artist in all of Magic. And I work in crayon, for those that don't know. That's my medium. But anyway, they came up with something pretty cool, which was they asked me what card did I want to draw for. I said love. And they said, why don't you draw love? We have something cool we can do with it. And so what happened was the story behind this card is Christina is my producer. Christina writes me an email one day and says, where's your art for love? It was supposed to be turned in 2 weeks ago. No one had told me that's why I hadn't made it. So I got my crayons, drew this picture, and I ran it to Christina. And I'm not exaggerating. From me reading Christina's email to her having it in her hands was 2 minutes. So I call it the speed run, which I believe will never be broken, from demand of art to delivery of art, 2 minutes. But anyway, this is my art thing. So we did something fun. There's a special thing we call the headliner card. You can see I have art credit on it. It's the one time my name appears on the Mood Swings cards. It's on the box. And so this is something that you can get. So let's talk a little bit about this. Oh, here's what Colby played around with. He tried different things. The left is what he ended up with. So this is what we call a headliner card. So you don't get this in every booster, in every deck. It is special. There are only 500 cards total in the whole thing. They're all foil. They're all signed by me. I personally signed every single one, and each one's unique. I had 4 different color markers, and I drew on the faces. They're all signed by me. I drew on the faces. I did different colors, so I never repeated myself. Things are always different. And I made sure that there's different variants. And on 50 of them, I hand wrote messages in which I didn't know I was doing this ahead of time. So they're very spur of the moment, but there's 50 unique messages that I wrote. So of the 500, 50 of them have messages. And the idea is you might get this I mean, this is kind of our collectible. This is the thing. It's the same. It's same as love. So it's no, it's way harder. There's a lot less of them, but it's just love. So it doesn't play any differently. And you'll notice on the stamp, on this first edition, there's a first edition stamp that you might not have seen for a while, but we bring back the first edition stamp. So in March, we get what we call first offline, which means when we print something, they send it to us to make sure that what they printed is correct, because if something's wrong, we can correct it. So this is the first offline. This is me literally holding it in my hand. This is the first time I ever touched a Mood Swings thing. And it was exciting because I had my name on it for the first time. I've never actually had a product in which my design was on the product. I mean, Magic Sets, obviously Richard designed Magic, so Richard's on Magic. And so I had never had a credit on a product before. So this was very exciting. And I will say, I didn't know whether or not this product would ever happen. So I was a bit emotional when I held it for the first time. I was very excited. The actual line when I got it is, I go, we might be making this. Okay, so in March of 2026, I recorded all the videos you guys saw that just went up earlier this week. I did the announcement video, which there's many versions of it. I think we did the shortened version, but the longer one's coming if it's not already out. And then Ari and I did not only did Ari do the art, by the way, but he also was one of my big playtest partners. Corey and Ari did most of the playtesting with me, or the large majority of the I did a lot of playtesting with lots of people in R&D, but they did the line majority of it. So I asked Ari to be my partner for the how-to video. And now we get to May. We are at MagicCon, where I'm giving this very presentation. So I hope people enjoy that. So this is Secret Lair. So Mood Swings coming on Secret Lair. So we'll talk about that in a second. But before we get to that, let me walk through what comes in the box. So in a box, you get 23 commons, random, out of a potential 48 commons. You get 14 uncommons, random, out of potential 40 commons. At rare, you get 6 rares out of potential 30 rares, and you get 2 mythics out of potential 15 mythics. So the idea is you get 45 of the potential 133 cards. What you get is a complete and total game. You never, ever have to buy any more cards. We have sold you a game that you can play and have a lot of fun. There's lots and lots of replay value. Like I said, especially with a 2-player game, you only need 14 cards. So there's lots of variants that will come there. That doesn't mean you can't get more cards. It doesn't mean you can't add, but all opt-in, you can choose to do that if you want to do that. You could just buy the game and that's it. You have a game, put it on your shelf, you have a game you can play. When you go to your friend's house, it'll be a little bit different, but you have a game that you can purchase and play. Okay, before we wrap this up for the day, there's some people I want to thank. Matt Danner and Ari Zarilnik for looking at way too many sketches of cards. When we first came up with the idea of doing sketches, I don't think we realized the complication. It ended up being very, very hard. I helped them with it, so I know how much work it was in making it. I'm so happy with all the art we picked. Every single piece of art is a published piece of Magic art in its sketch form, so you can identify what Magic cards they're from. We definitely skewed it. There's a lot of uncards in there because it was my product. Jefferson Dunlap for doing a very hard task many, many times. So in order to do the sketches, we had what we call de-archive them, which is a lot of work. And so Jefferson did that, and then we changed our mind, and he had to do it a second time, and then we changed our mind again, and he had to do it a third time. And so I just want to thank Jefferson for, it was not an easy thing, and we made him keep redoing it, so thank you so much. Corey, for convincing me the cards could be better. He was my play designer. And a lot of Corey's biggest influence is convincing me that I needed less costs. I had more cards that made you pay extra costs. Corey's like, yeah, we don't need that. And he did a lot to make things worth more than they were before. So Corey was super helpful. Michael Zhang was my editor. Thank you for explaining everything so clearly. He came up with all the templating. He came up, suppress is one of the abilities. And he came with, a lot of the vocabulary he came up with. So anyway, thank you, Michael. Colby Nichols and his team, they did all the design work, and I want to thank them. The cards look amazing, and there was a lot of work that went into them. The sketches weren't necessarily meant to be, so there was a lot of work with those. And anyway, everybody, I just want to thank so much for all of their hard work, for just making the set look so good. For Zakiel Gordon was my architect. And he constantly came to me and said, what do you want? And whenever there was a question, I said, can I do this? He would say, yes, we can do this. And he was great at bringing to life, like, this was my dream project. I mean, everybody knew it, but Zakiel definitely knew it. And at every level, every time there's any decision, he always looped me in and made sure that I was happy with the decision. And I could not have asked for a better architect. Lucas is my friend. When I needed to I didn't know how to do stickers. I didn't know how to do dice. And Lucas figured out how to do that and made me all the dice stickers. And we had a lot of really good talks about accessibility. One of the things that's really important is there's a lot of things about how people process games, and some people don't process easy. For example, the exclamation point that goes on all the cards that have an effect while they're in play, we have a special marker to help remind you of that. Also, it was Lucas that really made me demand that we had the color on every card. So the lower left corner, we write out the color. So if you can't tell what it is, you can read it on the card for people that aren't able to tell color. This is Lynn Rosewater, my mom, for talking through how every emotion worked. I really, really cared, more so than probably anybody playing will even care. But I cared about the emotions, and I really wanted to be true to them. I wanted the gameplay to match them. I wanted them to feel like the emotions. And I spent a lot of time, like, should this be envy or jealousy? And what color is what emotion? Like, I spent a lot of time really going through this. And so I want to thank my mom for helping with all that. To Laura Rosewater, my playtest partner of 28 years, as well as my wife. Laura was, nobody had to hear more about me complain about trying to make this game for 28 years than my wife, Laura, who's been wonderful the whole time. And like I said, she has been my constant playtest partner, so I wanted to thank her. And finally, I want to thank Mark Hagan. Aaron Forsyth jokes that persistence is my superpower, that I don't give up on things. But I honestly didn't know. There's many, many times I did not think this would ever happen. I didn't give up. I thought it was a great game. I really had a lot of, I believed in the game. But there were a lot of times where I'm like, I just don't think this is ever happening. I mean, when you get said no so many times, at some point, you would think you would just give up and go away. And so that Mark Hagan's the one that finally let me kick the ball. I want to thank him. It means a lot. So. Sorry, getting a little emotional. But anyway, this game means a lot to me. I've worked really hard on it, and I'm so excited. This is my little graphic to show you all the changes that Love went through from the very beginning to the very end. I actually saved every single playtest card. I have them all. This game meant a lot to me, and so it was very funny when I started doing this talk. I went back and I dug out all my cards. In fact, things happened in order that I forgot what order they happened in, and it was the cards themselves that taught me about the order of everything. The fact that I'd saved all the playtest cards was why I could put this all together. And so this is showing all the different things and all the different stages it went through. It was truly, truly a labor of love. So on June 1st, for $25, maybe $24.99, you have the chance to get Mood Swings. Obviously, I'm the creator of the game, and I've tried to make it for 28 years, so I will say this with as much bias as humanly possible. I really think it's a good game, especially if you have people who never have gotten into Magic, who like this is a great game to introduce other people to trading card games that just will never play Magic. I'm not saying Magic fans should enjoy this immensely. It's a lot of fun. You can play it in between Magic games. There's a lot of strategy in this game. Oh, and online, on the back of the rules card is a website. On the website, I have extended rules. I have other ways to play. Do you want to draft this game? Do you want to play in teams? Do you want to build separate decks and play against each other? There are rules for how to do all that. It is a trading card game. It has all the modularity of a trading card game. I also have card-by-card explanations of what, if you have questions about any card, there's a card gallery. Those two things don't go up until Monday, but they will be up very soon. And I'm writing articles about this. I am doing podcasts about this. I produce a lot of content, and I have produced a lot of content about Mood Swings because I'm quite passionate about it. So here's your chance to finally, like I said, I've been talking about this for a long time. There's so many people, today when we recorded this, I announced this, and so many people writing into me going, you've been talking about this forever. I can't believe you finally made it. So I have been talking about it. And so anyway, finally, 28 years in, Mood Swings becomes an actual product that all of you can buy on June 1st. So I want to thank you for being with me today to hear my talk. This was a really fun talk to put together. It brought back a lot of memories. And anyway, it was fun to share it. So anyway, thank you so much for being here today. And hopefully some of you buy mood swings and enjoy it. And if you do, I would love to hear about it. So thanks, everybody. This is Mark Rosewater signing off.